At the beginning of this pandemic, I had a conversation with a young father who had one child and one on the way. Can you imagine the anxiety that he was going through in that moment? Probably anxiety that many of us shared. We were up against an invisible enemy, right? And the question for us, I think, is how do you protect yourself from an invisible enemy? I guess with Solano face masks and 6 feet difference, I guess, right? But it's lurking at every level, right? And so we get afraid, and I think that that's in our nature. We want to protect our families. We want to make sure that they're safe from all these attacks that could come from all these different levels. And it's much easier to battle something that we can see tangibly. When the enemy is invisible, it's a lot more difficult. And he was sharing his anxiety with me and just how much it kind of even put him into this OCD type of behavior of washing his hands and leaving everything outside before he came in, this over kind of obsessiveness about it. And something sparked in my heart to say this to him. I said, do you realize that the true invisible enemy that you save your family from by your faith is way more deadly than this coronavirus? Do you believe that the evil one, who we cannot see, is seeking not to just destroy the body, but the one who could destroy the body and soul in Gehenna, right? That your faith as a father, that your desire to protect your family goes far beyond just trying to keep them safe in a temporal way. That you have this right and responsibility as a father to provide, but also to proclaim this truth about who God is for your family. And I think that helped to bring him out of this kind of crazy focus on this one invisible enemy, to realize that his life as a father had a much bigger perspective. I love that our readings today tell us about this father. They tell us about a father who knows who the real enemy is in the world. That God is not unconcerned about this experience we're going through now. That we have a God who's very aware of even that little sparrow, it says, that falls to the ground. That nothing escapes the knowledge of God. But God's vision for us is eternal. God's horizon for us is a relationship that lasts forever, and this is his goal for us. He acknowledges and is with us in providing for us in these moments where we feel attacked on many sides. But he says, be careful to get the focus wrong. Be careful to remember that my ultimate goal for you is I want to spend eternity with you and your families forever. Jeremiah understood this, Jeremiah was being attacked on many sides as they did to many prophets in that time, right? Almost all the prophets were put to death because they were there proclaiming the truth about who God was to an Israel who didn't want to hear it. And in that moment when he was being attacked on many sides, they said, denounce this God that you think is going to save you from this temporal punishment here. He says, I will not. He says, I believe that my God is a God who is a conqueror, that he will conquer not just this experience, but he's going to conquer sin and death. That was this prophetic witness to who Christ is, right? Who comes to reveal the true Father, the one who came to conquer sin and death so that we could live forever. He says, this is the real perspective that Jeremiah is focusing us back on. So I think the call in our lives as fathers, my life as a priest and your life as earthly fathers, really our call, I think, is to live that same very call of the Heavenly Father out in our own lives. To provide, to be provident for our families, and to proclaim the truth. I think that those are the 2 P's I want us to walk away with today. To provide and to proclaim. And we can't do those things apart from each other. Because I think first as fathers, my fatherhood means nothing separated from the fatherhood of God, right? And I don't think anybody's fatherhood means anything separate from first acknowledging that we have a Father in heaven who is provident. A God who takes care of us as things are pressing on in many different sides. And a God who proclaims the truth over us. And if you need to hear this truth today, I know I need to be reminded of this often, is that you're worth more than many sparrows. We need to hear that, right? The truth that he says to us, don't get caught up in just the earthly realities, but But he says, get caught up in the heaven realities. We need to proclaim truth as a horizon over our world today as fathers, I think, because so much of our lives can get so drawn down by the evil one, so drawn down into these earthly realities so that we can denounce a God, right? But he says, don't do that. He says, if you denounce me, I have to denounce you because you don't want my relationship anymore. But fathers in our world today, we need to proclaim the truth that you have a God who's provident and that you have a God who wants to spend eternity with you. Today, I want to invite us to pray for our fathers, to pray for your priests, to pray for the fathers in your own family, and to acknowledge that maybe our own experience of fatherhood could have been broken here below in these not failed, but in these shadows of the true Father, right? Who we are. But to remember that all these fathers have at their core this mission to reveal the Father to you and to all those whom they love. And that's a big mission. And they need your prayer and they need your support. Invite us to pray for our fathers today, to pray for all those who have been fathers to us and all those who have cared for us through their providential care. But I think most importantly, that they have proclaimed the truth that we have a God who is Father in heaven that wants to spend eternity with us regardless of our struggles here below.